we asked 1,000 people to rate their attractiveness from 1 to 10. You guys, video by Shiro Protocol. You guys, before we get into the video, please subscribe right now. I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Bets, I'm sure that you have subscribed by now. But anyways, when it comes to attractiveness, I find that if I'm being real, I find that guys are a lot more realistic with how attractive they are, and women have a bunch of things that help them out, makeup and all those other things. But you guys, let me not talk too much. Let's get into the video.
How attractive do you think you are on a scale from 1 to 10? We have asked 1,000 people this exact question, but there's a problem.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you guys how attractive I think I am. I think, well, some girls have called me an 8. I've never gotten higher than an 8. But if I'm being real, I think I'm like a, 6.5. And it depends on what you're factoring. Some people are more attractive because they have more stuff. Some guys are more attractive because, they're just physically more attractive. I think in terms of everything that I have, I think I'm like a 7 or a 6.5, and that's just me being so real. But let's see what these people rate themselves.
On camera will say,
I'm a 10. All of us are 10. 10. Damn, wait a minute.
So we wanted to find a way to get real.
Bro, that girl said, damn, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, she doesn't agree. I'm surprised because, I feel like most girls be showing each other love, Most girls show each other love. Guys don't do that. If a guy thinks that, you're not that attractive, I feel like we tell each other the truth more times than not.
Answers. That's why we created our anonymous survey, asking 1,000 people to rate their appearance as honestly as possible from 1 to 10. To get real results, we also reminded them to keep in mind that a 5 out of 10 is the average score and not bad at all. We then collected each person's age and gender, so we could compare the different groups.
5 out of 10 is bad. I feel like 7 is really average. Like 7 is like a 5, and 5 is like a 3.
Later. And finally, for reference, we also asked each participant to rate this person in the photo from 1 to 10, which will play an important role later in the video. After collecting data for about 2 months, we finally hit the goal of 1,000 participants. And the results were so much different from all the public street interviews you always see. Out of exactly 589 men and 411 women, the most common answer, as you might have guessed, was 7 out of 10. Nearly 20% of all participants picked this number. For many, it's probably the safe zone. Not arrogant, but above average.
Exactly. Yeah, not arrogant but above average, you feel me?
And 90.
But I feel like based off the actual scale, if 7 is actually average, which 7 is, a lot of people are 7s in terms of attractiveness and in terms of the things they bring to the money, be it finances and all the other important stuff. A lot of people are 7s, and there's nothing wrong with being average. Average isn't bad.
People call themselves exactly average by rating themselves a 5 out of 10. And then there's the bottom of the scale. 45 people gave themselves the lowest possible score, 1 out of 10. Most of them were men, by the way. More on that later. Now let's look at the opposite side. 71 people gave themselves a perfect 10. That means 7% of the 1,000 participants believe they are basically the most attractive of them all. The rest of the score...
I bet all of those 71 people were women. I bet they were all women.
Are spread out in the middle range, resulting in an average score of 6.3 out of 10. In total, 678 participants gave themselves a 6 or higher.
So the average person is actually a 6.3 out of 10, according to this. And that's not bad. That's not bad. I can actually say I'm a 6.5. Yeah.
That means nearly 70% of people think they are better looking than average, which is mathematically impossible, but psychologically totally expected. A study from the University of Southampton, England, actually gave this behavior a name, the self-enhancement effect. It's a tendency to overestimate your own qualities, especially regarding attractiveness. But theory aside, we wanted to test this directly. That's why every participant also had to rate the attractiveness of the reference person we included. As you can see, his ratings were all over the place. 18
Interesting. Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. Some people give him a 10 out of 10. And some people give him a 1. Interesting.
Gave him a 1 out of 10, while 59 others gave him a 10. He received a 5.8 out of 10. And if you paid attention, you might have noticed something. That's lower than the average self-rating of our participants. In fact, 654 participants out of 1,000 rated themselves higher than they rated.
Yo, that means that I might be like a 4, 5 out of 10, bro. That's crazy.
The reference person. That's 2 out of 3 people who think they are more attractive than him. To put this into perspective, we had the face of our reference person professionally analyzed. We will spare you the full report, but it's linked in the description. We concluded that the sample person rates somewhere between a 6.0 and a 6.1. That means statistically he should be more attractive than about 70% of participants. But in reality, our participants thought it was exactly the other way around, proving that the self-enhancement effect was very much present in our small experiment. But the ratings of the reference person also revealed something else that's really important. Looks are incredibly subjective.
Incredibly subjective, bro. And that's why you shouldn't take rejection personal. Because looks are subjective. Someone might look at you and be like, wow, he's a 10, Like I've said this in a previous video. I've had oh my gosh. I've had some very, very fine girls be like, oh, Dayo, I think you're very attractive. And I've had some girls that weren't that attractive say that I was ugly. And that is also from my point of view. That's based off my own excuse me, I'm eating. But anyways, that's based off my own point of view. Someone might look at that girl that I don't find that attractive and be like, that's a 10. It goes both ways. That's why you shouldn't take rejection personally. You might just not be the person's type, and that's okay.
15 people rated him a 1 out of 10, while 59 others gave him a 10, believing he's one of the most attractive people out there. You simply can't be everyone's type. And honestly, you're not supposed to be. No matter how you look, there will always be someone out there that sees you as a perfect 10 out of 10, even if 999 others don't. Okay, what's also really interesting is the differences between female and male participants. We had exactly 589 male participants with an average score of 5.9 out of 10, and 411 female participants averaging a score of 6.9 out of 10. But here's where the results completely surprised us. Out of the male participants, only 28 rated themselves a perfect 10 out of 10. In contrast, 43 female participants also gave themselves a perfect
Shit. My bad. My camera died, guys. Oopsies.
score. In relation, that means just 5% of men rated themselves at the very top, while over 10% of women did the same, meaning that they were more than twice as likely as men to rate themselves a perfect 10. Additionally, the total average score of the woman was also nearly 1 whole point higher. And we're not alone with this finding. A 2018 study titled "Almost Every Woman Thinks She's Hotter Than Average," yes, that's the actual title, found that 94% of women believe they are more attractive than
94% of women. What? 94%? Bro, even I think I'm okay. Like I said, I'm 5'9", bro. And I'm like, okay, my face isn't that bad, but then I'm short. I think yeah. But that's crazy.
average woman.
This is a crazy statistic.
But why? The most common theory explaining this phenomenon is called the social feedback loop. Women usually tend to get way more positive feedback and praise about their looks.
Yeah, bro, because most guys are hungry as fuck. Most guys are hungry as fuck. Deadass. Most guys are just hungry as fuck. Let's say, guys would sleep with almost anything, bro. The average guy is fucking almost anything. However, though, if we're being honest, the average girl isn't doing that. And when the average guy does that, he ends up he can sleep with her, but he's not going to give her I'm stammering, bro. Sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long day. But the average guy is not going to give her the relationship that she's looking for. So I really feel like attractiveness is based off who is going to give you a relationship, who wants a relationship with you. I feel like that determines attractiveness. Sex, sex is cool, But I think that it's harder to get a relationship than it is to get sex.
Overly positive feedback combined with the self-enhancement effect could explain the significant differences in 10 out of 10 ratings we saw in our experiment between male and female participants. But how about the lowest score? In total, 45 people rated themselves a 1 out of 10, which statistically speaking is also pretty unrealistic. But here's the really interesting part. Of those 45 people, 34 were men and only 11 were women. Even in relation, that means that men are twice as likely to rate themselves at the very bottom. But again, why? It might have a lot to do with body image pressure. The fitness industry, Instagram aesthetics, and the whole high value.
But women also have that pressure too, though. Let's not talk as if women don't have like that pressure. They do. The beauty standards for women are actually quite insane. For men, I feel like, money can make you beautiful. Like, a rich man is the exact same thing as a beautiful woman, bro. Like, the difference is not that far off. In fact, it is the same exact thing. People start to value you the same. People start to reach out to you. Like, let's say, and I love using myself as an example. Let's say one day I get to like 1 million subs and I'm making all this money. I think I'm a pretty cool guy. If you're watching this video, chances are you think I'm cool. So if you think I'm cool, chances are the babes think I'm cool too. You feel me? So like, since that's the case, like, it's just one of them ones where like, okay, if I make all this money and I become successful, I'm going to start experiencing what it's like to be an attractive woman. It's just harder to like achieve that as a man. But I will say I think I'd much rather be like a successful man, even though it's 10 times harder. Like, it's so hard. I think I'd rather be a successful man than a beautiful woman, bro. And that's not on some misogynistic I hate women shit. That's just only like, like, there aren't that many successful men, but then there's an abundance of beautiful women, bro. Like, every time I leave my house I see a beautiful woman. So, yeah.
Culture constantly push the idea that you need to be tall, shredded, rich, with a perfect face, or you don't measure up. And while women often tend to get more external validation and compliments, men sadly tend to suffer in silence. Which might explain why so many guys in our survey felt like they were at the bottom, even when that's statistically and visually not even close to the truth. Okay, you might remember that we also asked the participants to give us their age, just to see if there are any differences. But we didn't expect the results to be so drastically different. We divided the participants into 3 age groups: 15 to 20 years old, 21 to 30 years old, and 31 years and older. Can you guess which group had the highest average score? The lowest is the score of the youngest age group, being just
Okay.
6.2 out of 10. In the middle, we have the 21 to 30-year-olds, averaging a 6.1 out of 10. And the 31 years and older scored the highest average at 7.3 out of 10. As you might have noticed, the older the participants were, the higher they rated themselves. But why is that? Younger generations have grown up in a world where every face is filtered and
every face is filtered. People have done plastic surgery. People have BBLs. Like, like I said, Gen Z is cooked, bro. Like, our generation is fucked up. I can't even lie. Like, you guys can't even imagine how, like, if I was to quantify how much I think, like, we're cooked on a scale of 1 to 10, it's breaking the scale. Like, I don't know what, like, our children are going to look like. I don't think I want children. But yeah.
Body retouched. Everything is just a highlight reel from someone else's life, not reality. And over time, that destroys your self-image. The younger you are, the more you tend to compare your looks to others. But as people get older, looks usually play a smaller role in how we see ourselves. Confidence starts to come from other things, like caring for people you love. So that concludes the experiment we've been running over the past 3 months. If you appreciate the work and time we put into this, then please leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to understand how others actually perceive your face...
Hey, you guys, okay, bet. I think that's the video. Let me know what you guys, in fact, drop it down in the comments. How attractive do you think you are on a scale of 1 to 10? How attractive do you think I am on a scale of 1 to 10? Put it down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about yourselves and me. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video.